Our area's largest school district will have a new leader in education as soon as July. The Duval County School Board is voting on Dr. Diana Greene's $275,000 contract tomorrow morning. The school system is in need of permanent leadership. It's been more than a year since former Superintendent Nikolai Vitti left for the same job in Detroit. Dr. Greene spoke with First Coast News anchor Anthony Austin today in her first television interview since being elected and selected for the job.
Dr. Greene tells me she is excited to become the next superintendent of Duval County Schools. She actually has local ties. She graduated from the University of North Florida, and she actually started her teaching career in the area. She tells me she understands the support that teachers and staff in the district need.
I know the walk that they walk, and I have an understanding from the classroom up to the school board room.
She's been a teacher and a principal and is currently the superintendent of Manatee County Schools near Tampa, a job Dr. Diana Greene has held for 3 years. Now she's continuing in the same role, except on a much bigger stage.
This dream that I had of being the superintendent for Duval County Public Schools, it's now real.
A reality she will face when she officially accepts the job and becomes the leader of the 22nd largest school district in the nation.
I'm not coming in as if I already have the answers about what's going to be best for Duval County. I want to listen to the people who are there and who've worked in the system for a number of years and find out from them what do they think is best for Duval County.
Dr. Greene told me about her accomplishments in Manatee County, both financially and academically. The school district raised its accountability grade from a C to a B, and under her leadership, Manatee County teachers are some of the highest paid in the state. Entry-level salaries start at $45,000.
I believe as superintendent, my job is to ensure that I can remove as many roadblocks as I possibly can that would impede them from being successful.
The top educator says she wants to mend fences in Duval County schools and build new partnerships.
I want to be a better version of myself, and entering Duval County Public Schools, I want to make it a better version of itself.
Dr. Greene tells me that the school board will vote on her contract tomorrow morning at 11. They have until June 1st to officially offer her the job, and if she accepts, she will start on July 1st. Reporting in Manatee County, Anthony Austin, First Coast News, on your side.